You're listening to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast brought to you by Nottinghamshire Live. Hello and welcome to Garibaldi Red, the Nottingham Forest podcast from Nottinghamshire Live. My name is Matt Davis and we're here with I think it's a pretty exciting episode with two Reds greats, hopefully. The first one you can see on your screen as we stream live on Facebook. It's former Reds manager Paul Hart. Good afternoon, Paul. How are you?
Fine, thanks, Matt.
Good. You've been on before with an episode talking about the brilliant 2002-2003 season, so people can check that out earlier in the stream. When we spoke last, Paul, it was right at the start of lockdown, and you said to me you thought you might be retired if your wife would let you, and you're certainly not retired. So is football a bit like being in the mafia? You think you're out, but they always get you back in?
But I don't think you're ever out. And I've been very fortunate, as you know, through my career. And Nathan asked me to come back in, and he's very persuasive. So I'm really pleased to be at Luton Town.
Does it feel good then? Is in a sense of, is your main motivation working with players still and improving them, or is it winning games? I mean, what do you derive the most enjoyment from these days?
Well, it's a little bit of both. You know, it's nice to win. That hasn't changed. The feeling of winning hasn't changed, and equally the feeling when you lose hasn't changed. Thankfully, that keeps me going. That if I hadn't got those emotions, I think it would be a sad state of affairs. So I pass on my knowledge, hopefully, to players still. And hopefully my work or whatever I do is, appreciated.
So obviously you've got a game against Forest coming up tomorrow. What are your thoughts on what you've seen of Forest so far? Because it's not been a good start for them, but they have picked up under Chris Cohen a little bit. What would you say about Forest this season?
Well, I think they're a team that is, if you underestimate them, you could pay a heavy price. So I think with a new manager who I've known for an awful long time, they've got some very, very good players. And I think maybe it's not very far away. Hopefully it won't be tomorrow.
Does it make it a bit harder for you as a management team to scout a club that's got a new manager or not?
Well, quite right. There are subtle changes that will happen, and you try and become aware of them.
What would you say about a Chris Cohen team? Do you kind of know what you're going to get in terms of they're going to play a certain way, they're going to be very committed? Do you kind of foresee a certain challenge from Forest?
I think they will be very hard to beat and break down, but they've got enough talent in the side to cause any team problems.
You're having a good start to the season. You go into this game as underdogs, probably outside your own dressing room. Does that suit you in a way as Luton Town? You might enjoy that.
I think that is we've got a fantastic group of players. I don't know if it's 65-70% of them were here in League Two. They're great lads. We've known them for up to 4 years. The players we've signed, the manager is excellent at recruiting players, and we're a tight group, and that's our strength. We're not short on ability, but we're great on togetherness, and it's just a fantastic place to be.
If anyone's got any questions or comments, there's a lot of people watching. Do drop them in for Paul. I might put a couple to him. Do you think, Paul, you're kind of riding a bit of a crest of a wave from the end of last season when you finished well under Nathan Jones to stay up? Do you carry any momentum over, do you think?
I think so. I think, that was a minor miracle that happened at the end of the season, and Nathan did an amazing job. And the players were fantastic. I can't speak highly enough of the group of the players that are around the place. They're inspirational, and I think we were 10, 11 points adrift or something silly like that, and to come back and clinch it was amazing. So you can't rest on your laurels. So whether we were riding the crest of a wave or not, we've had a couple of harsh lessons already this season. We may get a few more, but we'll come back fighting. I know that.
What's it like being at Kenilworth Road without fans? Because whenever I've been there in the press box, it's always a good atmosphere and very noisy, especially that wooden stand. Does it make a big difference for you as the hometown club that can rely on the support of fans to get you going a bit, maybe?
Well, our supporters are phenomenal, and that little ground absolutely rocks when it's full. But I think it's like everything, you come to terms with things. So we sort of, and I'm sure this is the case with most professionals, we would absolutely want our supporters to be there, but you get in a groove and you get used to it, and it's not quite the same ever, but you do cope.
What are your kind of aims for the season then for a club like Luton? Is it just to stay up, or do you aim a bit higher up the table?
Well, we've got to aim as high as we possibly can. We want to stay in this division, that's for sure. But we would like to do better than we have done previously.
Is this kind of it for you, do you think, the last job, or do you never say that then, do you think?
I'm trying not to say anything because it's quite obvious. People remember. And so I'm trying not to say anything, and we'll just see. I do sort of take things week by week. I enjoy my work. I enjoy the people I work with, and at 67 years of age, it's a minor miracle for me to be still around 50 years now. So I don't know. I'm enjoying it, so I'll go with it.
What is the job for you then? Are you kind of Nathan Jones's counsellor? You just weigh in with the odd opinion here and there? Is it not too intensive on the training ground? How do you see your role at Luton?
Well, Nathan I don't know whether he may call me a nuisance or not, I'm not sure, but he's more than capable of looking after himself now, and sometimes it's just maybe the odd word here and there that shakes the tree, and I'm not as active on the training pitch as I was, but maybe my contributions are different, and hopefully they're still effective.
I've got a viewer question that I'll put to you if you don't mind. It's going back to your days as Forest manager. It's from Richard Ottaway. Paul, how good was Gareth Williams? Thought your whole game plan seemed to go around him. I think I asked you about Gareth Williams before, but I love Gareth Williams. What would you say about him?
Well, first of all, when I was academy manager, I worked really hard to get him, because I was nearly taking him into Leeds, and I worked really hard. I've like our supporters, I valued him highly, and like most of the other young players that were there, I couldn't wait to get him in the team, and I'm really sorry that injury played a big part in him not fulfilling all his ambitions, but he was certainly a smashing player, and I would endorse all compliments that you could place on his head. Fantastic.
Was he the most naturally gifted? Well, certainly passer. I think he was excellent. Was he right up there in terms of talent of young players that you've worked with?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been blessed, at both Leeds and Nottingham Forest to have worked with some fantastic young players, and but when you look at Genus, Reed, Dawson. There were our recruitment program was fantastic at Nottingham Forest, and I was really great when you consider that they all got in our first team. It was fantastic, and we think that further down the line we would probably produce more.
There's a comment from Simon Whitehouse about Gareth Williams' header at Bramall Lane in a 2-1 win that you probably remember that one. Do you remember all those individual games that far back? I don't know. You've managed a lot of games.
I don't remember them all, but certainly Sheffield United I try and remember because there was a fierce rivalry there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A couple more before we let you go, if that's all right. A question from Simon Norris. Paul, who was the best Forest player that you played with going back to your playing days?
Well, let me think. I was blessed. Ian Boyer, who was captain, Gary Birtles, Stephen Hodge. They were fantastic. Peter Davenport was an electric centre forward. I was very fortunate. I had a number of exceptional players around me who tried to make me look good, and that was must have been very difficult for them.
A question from Chris Beecroft. Paul, last time you played, you had Johnson and Harewood. What do you think about Taylor and Graben? And can team? I don't know if you play two up top. Do teams still play two up top, and can it work? Do you think? I
think it can. We've at certain stages, if you've got the right players, you can play two up top. It's a bit of a new phenomenon, a new old phenomenon now. Yes. I agree with you, but I think you can.
There's a comment from Richard Ottaway again. Did you give media lessons to Genus, Dawson, Robinson, Thompson, etc.? They're all on the radio and TV. Is that a sign? Actually, they're all quite intelligent, good lads that you worked with.
And David Prutton as well.
Forest fans don't like him as much. I'm friends with him. I can say you maybe slag him off a bit.
Well, they've all done very well, and no, as you can see by my media presence here today, I didn't give them any lessons whatsoever.
No, we're grateful to have you on for the second time. Nicholas Zanzibar Smith, your team in the early 2000s was a truly exciting Forest team. Jurgen Klopp stole your philosophy. I think I've asked you this before. Were you a bit ahead of your time, do you think, the style of football that you played? I don't remember too many teams passing it like you did when you were Forest boss.
I'm not sure whether ahead of the time, but I had a belief in a way of playing, and it's had a huge risk element, and that's probably why I lost all my hair.
I think our second guest is ready to come in. I don't know if we're all right for you to tag out, Paul, if that's all right. We've kept you long. I know you want to travel back north, I think I was told.
Yes, I do, and I am.
Well, thank you very much for joining us again. We'll bring in Chris, if that's all right.
That's right. He's here now.
Thank you, Paul. See you. Thank you. Right, a momentary pause for the people listening on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. We're going to be joined now by another Reds great in Chris Cohen. He's just joining us now. Chris, good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, Matt. How are you? You okay?
Yes, very well, thank you. Thanks for doing this. We really appreciate it.
No problem at all.
Does it feel a bit weird looking down at the emblem on your badge and it not being a Forest one? Has that settled in now?
Yeah, obviously it took a little bit of getting used to it, but I needed to make the decision for my career. I felt like I could, affect first team football, and obviously I've been really fortunate to come to a great football club to do that. Obviously it was hard leaving Nottingham Forest after 13 years, and an amazing time there. So many great people that I met, relationship I built with the football club, the supporters. But this is something that I needed to do for my career, and it's definitely the right decision.
Like with Paul, if people have got a few comments or questions for Chris, I'm sure, I hope you wouldn't mind us putting one or two to him just towards the end as we go along. Do you think, was there an element of risk leaving Forest, Chris? Because you had that, it's never a cushy job in an under-23 team, but the pressure to get results in a first team and the kind of turnover of staff, do you think there was an element of risk of taking that move in first team football?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there obviously is no safe job in first team football. I absolutely loved my time with the 23s. You know, probably the only time I really got really upset was when I was speaking to the players to tell them that I was leaving. So it was, as I said, it was a hard decision to make. But the thing I've missed since I stopped playing football was the winning and losing being the most important thing. You know what I mean? Development's great, and I absolutely loved the couple of years that I had. The 2 years that I had, 2.5 years that I had doing it. But the thing that I really missed was the feeling on a Saturday when you win. And that's something that I've managed to get back already. You know, coming into a first environment, I wasn't sure that it would feel like when I was a player. But it really, really does, because of the work that goes in prior and the small details that you go into as a coach, and watching people work, you know, from this side has been really eye-opening for me.
Is it a different job day to day working with first team players compared to younger under 23s?
Yeah, it's obviously, I think coaching football coaching or any sport or probably any job is to try and get the best out of people. So that is still development, and you know, I'm a huge advocate of first team players still trying to get themselves better, and that's one of the roles. One of my jobs here is to try and make first team players better and grow. Alongside that, obviously, we work really hard towards the Saturday or the Tuesday or Wednesday night to get a result, because at the end of the day, we know that livelihoods and people's jobs are on the line. And last year, you know, Luton managed to stay up on the last day of the season, and you know, the aim for this year is to hopefully be well away from that happening again.
I wanted to ask you about your Forest playing career a bit, if that's all right. Did you almost sign for Leicester? I read a piece that you might have come close to joining Leicester, and then you end up at Forest. Is that right?
Yeah, there's potential. Yeah, me and Aaron Davis we're going to do a joint deal wherever he went, because there's a lot of interest in us. And Leicester were really, really keen, but obviously then Forest came good, and you know, it ended up being the right decision, most definitely. So there was a chance. It was never like really close in terms of driving there or anything like that. I think Aaron might have been a bit closer than me to agree and stuff. So you know, I knew for quite a while before finally joining Forest that I wanted to be there. There was quite a lot of interest the season before, you know, and it was I knew I wanted to come here and be there for a long time, and you know, it worked out. 11 years as a player and 2.5 years as a coach. So you know, lots of ups and downs, but hopefully served the club well whilst I was there.
You mentioned the season before. Obviously, you were with Yeovil, and you played part in a game that's, you know, not remembered fondly by Forest fans when you beat Forest in the playoffs. Was it a bit weird walking into the Forest dressing room for the first time, having just knocked them out a few weeks earlier? Can you cast your mind back that far?
Yeah, obviously there was a break. We lost in the playoff final to Blackpool, and then there was a break after that. So I think it was me and Aaron flew out to Austria to meet the players. We kind of knew them a little bit, obviously, from the playoff games and playing against them from that season. But I think when we did win at the City Ground with Yeovil, I think we hopefully showed a lot of humility after. And although there was some really good celebrations, because it was the result was at that point was the biggest in the club's history. You know, we were also quick to make sure we gave our respect to their players and to Colin as the manager and stuff like that. So it wasn't too bad, but obviously walking into a dressing room where we've just, you know, knocked me and Aaron have both just kind of played a part. Aaron most definitely played a huge role in knocking Nottingham Forest out that night. It was a little bit awkward, but the players made us feel welcome straight away, so it worked out okay.
Are you kind of a bit gutted for Aaron that it never worked out, because he was so talented? You know all about injury issues yourself. Aaron had a lot of bad fortune as well, didn't he? Yeah,
I mean, God, I was fortunate that, you know, I was managed to play 5, 6, 7 years, you know, relatively injury free before my problems started. Whereas Aaron, obviously in his first pre-season, it was a game up in Scotland that he broke his leg. So it never quite worked out. He went on to have a decent lower league career. I'm still really good friends with him. Both still live in Nottingham now, literally 2 minutes away from each other. He doesn't. I'm sure he would have loved it to go a different way, but it's football, and you know, some things work out and some things don't. But it's just a shame for the football club more than anyone else that they never got to see Aaron the way that he was. You know, the way that he played for Yeovil, he never really was able, because of injury, to kind of do it the same for Nottingham Forest. So, as I said, football's a harsh game at times, and it didn't quite work out for him, which was a shame for him most importantly, but also Nottingham Forest Football Club.
Was that first season at Forest right up there in your career to take them back into the Championship?
Yeah, it was the most surreal season ever, really, because at lots of times we were not particularly popular as a team, and Colin wasn't overly popular as a manager, but we got the job done. That was the most important thing. And when it really, really mattered, the run in the 9 games or whatever it was, when we were 9 points behind Carlisle, I think, and to go and catch up, 11 points behind, whatever it was, to go and catch up over those 9 games took, a lot of mental toughness, because, as I've said a lot of times, it's a brilliant football club to play for. But when you go to a club that's twice European champions and as one of the greatest managers of all time, as their greatest ever manager in Brian Clough, it also adds a lot of pressure and expectation. And it's not an easy club to play for, most definitely. So we knew that we had a job. We had a young group, a group that were probably a little bit free of that pressure, because we were relatively young, and we were able to get the job done. And as I've said many times before, in Nottingham Forest history, it'll be a very small mark in terms of what they've achieved before, and hopefully what they'll go and achieve since. But for our little group of players, for Colin as the manager, we had a job to do, and we were able to do it, which it gave me the Oval game at home when we got promoted was the best footballing day of my life, and a lot of the players that played that day, their lives too.
After Colin left, Billy Davies came in. I asked players a lot about, what was Billy like? There's a question here from Wayne Freestone about Billy. Are you in the camp with other players that I've spoken to that he was actually a class manager to play for, and you've got a lot of time for him? Is that fair?
Billy created a siege mentality. I mean, Billy was absolutely fantastic at that. It wasn't he although it didn't always seem that way from the outside, he had a reason for everything that he did. And at times, supporters weren't happy with him. We can completely understand that, in the way that he left both times. Could have been dealt with differently. But whilst he was here, his record stands for itself. Bar not able to get over the line against Blackpool and Swansea, his record was fantastic. And we did create a team over that couple of years, especially the first year, where we believed that we were going to games and we were going to win, especially at home. We believed before a ball had been kicked that the game was won, because opposition feared us. Unfortunately, as I said, we weren't able to get over the line, come in third. Loads of different things could have happened in that January transfer window, and it might have been a different story. But Billy was able to create, the siege mentality that made it us against the world. And at times, I know that at times he wasn't the most popular, but in terms of just them 2 seasons from a football perspective, we felt unstoppable at times.
Is there a bit of Billy in you as a coach, or is it an amalgamation of other coaches that you've worked with that makes you, Chris Cohen the coach?
Loads and loads of, I mean, defensively, so many lessons that I still use, to this day, in terms of, again, I've said it before, but as a manager, defensively, Billy was absolutely perfect in terms of the way that we'd set up to stop and hold other teams. And I learned tons of stuff from him, loads of sessions that I still use today in terms of the training ground and what we do to achieve the outcomes on a Saturday. So I learned loads from Billy, loads and loads from Billy, as I did from some other managers as well. And then there were some managers that I took less from, or took things that I wouldn't do from. So I think you just try, and when you meet people and you want to be a coach one day, you have to take the good lessons and the bad, and then try and make sure you implement the good and don't do the bad, especially when the pressure's on.
Does your life experience in terms of, battling back from injuries, does that influence you as a coach as well, in terms of how you deal with players today?
Hopefully, I try and think, apart from the relegation, thankfully, I think I've been through, every emotion as a footballer, in terms of, like you said, big long injuries and setbacks, managers that loved me and played me all the time, managers that didn't play me, teams that were successful and strong, teams that were weak, teams with good characters in the dressing room, teams with bad characters in the dressing room. So hopefully it's given me a real rounded approach to be able to see it as a coach and see it when it's happening and stop the bad and help improve the good. So I would say from my experience as a player, it was definitely wasn't perfect, but hopefully that's, gave me a lot of humility and maybe quite rounded when I'm seeing what's happening, whether we're winning or losing, on a Saturday afternoon.
Do you ever think what might have been in terms of if you hadn't had the injuries, or is that kind of a pointless, futile thought?
No, I do. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I think it's a real natural emotion. I think the second time I got injured against Burnley, I was playing left back at the time, but as a club we were flying and we felt like that. And then when Stuart Pearce first came in the third time, them 2 times we had teams that were capable of getting promoted, and it'll always be, a disappointment for me that I was never able to be, especially when I was the captain that took, Nottingham Forest back into the Premier League. And bar some injuries, do I think we could have done it? Yes, most definitely, but who knows? As I said, in terms of regret, I don't regret it because it's made me a better person, definitely made me a better dad, better husband. Hopefully will make me a better coach. So I don't regret it, but would I love to have taken Nottingham Forest to the Premier League as captain? Yeah, then, yeah, 1,000,000%. When you watch the Leeds stuff and you look at Leeds and Forest as 2 huge clubs with massive histories, and you watch the Leeds documentary and you see Liam Cooper, lifting the trophy, does that make me regret not doing it? Of course, I'd love to have done it, but unfortunately, it weren't meant to be.
Which team was the one? If there was one Forest team, you think, we really should have done it that season? Is it the Billy one maybe that lost to Swansea or Blackpool, or even Stuart Pearce when you started so well and yourself and Andy Reid got injured? Is there one in particular you pick out?
Yeah, I think a mixture of them 2 teams would be perfect. Definitely, and a mixture of them 2 managers as well, to be honest with you, would be perfect. But definitely the first season, more probably going away to West Brom and beating West Brom, the year that we finished 3rd. That was probably a year that we felt we could have got promoted, and obviously finishing 3rd was a good achievement. But and the top 2 teams, West Brom and Newcastle, I think were obviously big clubs and done really well. But we felt like that was an opportunity missed. And then obviously the team with Stuart, it was really early in the season, so it's difficult to say. But the injuries we had throughout that year were pretty unheard of. I think at one point we had our starting 11 from the first game of the season. I think we had 10 of them in reasonably long term as well. So that would hit any football club in the world, but especially obviously a Championship football club where players are coming in that are capable. But the gel that we had at the start of the season really made it feel like it could have been special. But again, it wasn't meant to be, and you just have to learn your lessons. And we're all hopeful. Anyone that's been in the club, especially being there 13 years, apart from Wednesday and the reverse fixture, I'm always looking for and hoping that Nottingham Forest are going to win games and finally get a promotion back to the Premier League that the supporters deserve after 20 odd years.
Is Wednesday going to be a bit weird for you, being in the wanting Forest to lose on a one-off occasion?
Yeah, I think it would have been weirder if I think the reverse fixture at the City Ground would be stranger, because I was obviously played so many times there and obviously managed to coach there a few times as well with the under-23. So I think being in the opposite dugout will be a bit strange. But it'd be nice to see some people. Obviously, there's been big overhauls even since I've left. 6 weeks ago, there's been big overhauls. So there's not loads of people left from the coaching staff that I might have known. But it'd be nice to see some faces. Obviously, a couple of players that I played with as well would be nice. But obviously, Wednesday I have a job to do as a Luton Town coach, and after that, like you said, I'll carry on hoping that Forest get the results they deserve and get themselves back into the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, last one on Forest today. You worked so close to the under-23s. Do you see a bright crop of young players coming through behind, Joe Worrell, Ryan Yates? Are there some exciting names for fans to look out for still?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, a lot of the group, obviously, all of the group that I worked with for 2.5 years, a lot of them are still there. You've got boys out on loan like Jaden Richardson, Brennan Johnson, Tyrese Fulner out on loan and doing great things. And then the group that have stayed with Reedy and Gaz are performing brilliantly again as well. And it's always a testament to Gaz. Obviously, I held the role of manager for a little while. Jimmy before me, Jack Lester, Gareth Holmes before that. Reedy's holding it now. But it's always underneath Gary Brazil's stewardship towards making successful teams and most importantly, successful footballers and players that I've just mentioned, as well as the players that are winning every week in the under-23s at the moment. There's a great group coming through, and Forest fans should be really excited as always that we're going to be able Forest are going to be able to bring people through. And again, that's a testament to how good an academy Gaz has built over the last 5-6 years.
You're well regarded by Forest fans. I'll just put a couple of messages up for you to stroke your ego a bit if you like that. Gary Birtle's like this when everyone said what a good bloke he was. So Ian Allsop, since you've gone, just wanted to say thanks for all you did, a true loyal professional. And one here saying, love you, Chris, hope you come back from Dave from Glen Page. And there's a few more like that. John James, proper red. I mean, is it nice for you to read those messages even though you've gone now? Yeah,
obviously, even when I left, I'm not on a open social media platform and stuff, but I was told by the media people down here and by some friends and family about the amount of lovely messages that was sent out once I'd kind of done my farewell letter and stuff like that. And I think it's just hopefully over the years, and it was never perfect. I don't see myself as a legend or anything like that. Even though I was there a long time, we didn't win enough, weren't good enough for anyone to call me that. But hopefully I went into work every day and tried to make the club better, whether that was a player or a coach. And that's all I did, was whether I was playing, whether I was captain, whether I was injured, whether I was coaching, I went in every single day with good energy and tried to make the club better and help them get back to where they deserve to be. And hopefully that was seen by the fans. I think it was, and that's why the rapport I've always had with them was, even though at times I wasn't, the best footballer in the world, is that it wasn't through a lack of trying or a lack of effort, and that was the same in the coaching role that I had. So, they helped me through some tough periods in terms of being injured, the amount of letters and the amount of messages of support, even people just coming up to you in the street and just not consoling you but asking if you're okay. At the time, you probably don't realise how much you need it, but looking back on it, I feel very fortunate to have had the relationship with the football club and the supporters that I did for such a long period of time.
Just before we let you go, I wanted to just finish with a couple of quick fire questions, if that's all right, because I know I've kept you for a while. I do appreciate your time, of course. Best Forest teammate in terms of the best player you played with?
Oh, best player, Lewis McGugan.
Best friend at Forest?
Best friend at Forest, Aaron Davis or Joe Garner.
And best memory in a red shirt?
Yeah, getting promoted on the last day against Yeovil. Obviously for the supporters as well, was just, and they obviously weren't expecting, was all kind of gearing up for the playoffs. But then Doncaster losing and us winning, just euphoria. Yeah, something I'll never forget. I'll never forget the fans invading the pitch, the smell of beer, and going into a changing room, having known that we'd created a team that had been successful, was something that will live with me forever.
Best goal? I guess you're going to say Ipswich there, aren't you?
Most important, Ipswich. Yeah, best was Blackpool in the playoffs, but most important, definitely the Ipswich game. Yeah.
And last one. I mean, can you kind of sum up what Nottingham Forest means to you? Is it the influence it's going to take on you going forwards? Do you think?
I kind of said it in my farewell letter that the football club did change my life. The opportunity it gave me. I was desperate to play for a football club that. For a long period of time. I told my mum at the age of 16, 17 that I want to play for someone for 10, 11, 12 years. I want to be captain somewhere. It allowed all my dreams, apart from being a Premier League footballer, it allowed me to live out all my dreams over a long period of time. And if I couldn't be a footballer anymore, I was desperate to be a coach, and it allowed me to do that. So in terms of what it's done for me, I'll be forever grateful for the opportunity it gave me. And as I said, hopefully there was the club got a little bit back from me, but all I can be is really, really grateful as to the opportunities that it gave me over the 13 years that I was there.
Well, we normally finish with a prediction for the next game, but I'll probably spare you that because you're bound to say Luton are going to win and I'm bound to say Forest are going to win. So we'll pick that up for the next match. But thank you to everyone who watched along and threw in comments and questions for Chris and Paul. Chris, we really appreciate your time, especially so close to a game. We're really grateful for you joining us, and I hope you enjoyed that relatively.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thanks very much. And thanks for everyone who watched along. We'll be back with another episode either later in the week or next week. So I hope everyone enjoys the game tomorrow, and we'll see you soon.